Oh, hello there. Yes, well, that suddenly turned calm, didn't it? Yes. Yeah, just enough to sort of, I don't know, pick up a few fallen over trees and check for dead dog walkers. Yes, bit of a stormy one, which, thankfully I managed to stay out of. Anyway, we'll see for later on in the week. Yes. Anyway, I thought I'd wear my oversized boy t-shirt today. Yeah, 'cause I'm an oversized, boy, I suppose, if you want to use that word. Anyway, moving on. Yes, the media were in full froth yesterday, as they have been over the weekend, of course, at petitions and things like that I don't care about because that's not the way the world works. Anyway, yes, I thought once again I'd highlight one of those brilliant articles in the Daily Telegraph, which was this one in the property section. Naturally, money and property. My 12th century castle is at risk under Labour's tax raid. I'm so angry. Yes, great estates. John Lindsay says big houses like Hedingham are under threat from cultural vandalism. Yes, and what is generally a measured piece, one might say, contains at least two ifs and a maybe in terms of Labour's tax plans. But I'm sorry, Telegraph, it really is very, very hard to feel sympathy for somebody that owns a castle and whose family have owned the castle for generations upon generations way back into the early 18th century. I'm not really buying it in terms of the bleeding heart because, I'm not that much of a liberal. Not me, I'm not a liberal, mate. Yes, anyway, I do wish they wouldn't do this because, unfortunately, it does invite ridicule. Very much the same way as I feel what should invite ridicule is the entire thing we have at the moment about lazy working class people. Yes, not people that own castles, but the ones that don't own anything and being so lazy, and apparently they're just deliberately pretending to be poor and ill, especially in the last 15 years. What's becoming with them, eh? Yes, as I've said before, I think they're just dying early, either to spite the government or to get out of work. And the Telegraph, once again yesterday, had, millions of Britons must get back to work. Yes, of course, because we need a pool of cheap labour if we're going to, make sure that we maintain those profit margins. Now, you see, I'm one of these dangerous radicals in that I want to do things which do actually involve empowering people rather than taking away from themselves, because that's a bit of a stereotype. I don't really like that. But if you want to empower people at the bottom, one of the best ways of doing it, and there's plenty of evidence to back it up, is to, throw money at the problem. So I was very pleased in the Observer Guardian on Sunday to read this. Homeless people to be given cash in first major UK trial to reduce poverty. Led by King's College London, study will recruit 360 people in London, in England and Wales to explore benefits of the scheme. Yes. I mean, you may recall during COVID that we suddenly, mysteriously didn't have any people sleeping rough because apparently the government, somebody said to the government that, rather than having the homeless who are traditionally disease vectors, that if you actually give homeless people somewhere to stay, then drumroll, they're not homeless. Anyway, we decided not to do that anymore. And this is one of those types of schemes. And I'm willing to bet that very quietly, in about a year or two's time, when people write that up, they see that it's a major success. Oh, just giving money to poor people? That can't be right. Surely they must earn it. Why? Has Mr. Lindsay with his castle necessarily earned it? I don't know entirely. How hard does he work? How work-shy is he? I don't really know. I don't really care. You see, what might well work is if you put money in the hands of people right at the bottom of society, they will tend to, pay in and back immediately right at the bottom of society, and that does create an upturn in an economic cycle. I know it's all a bit Keynesian, and I know it's all a bit kind of FDR and New Deal, but it does generally speaking work. And if you think back to those times of great movement and social equality in the UK, and indeed an enormous sort of uprising of working class creativity, it was to do with people, for example, being able to spend a bit of time, because they had a bit of free cash, in doing things which were incredibly inventive. I'll point you to the Rolling Stones, or indeed the Beatles, or indeed the Clash, or indeed the Sex Pistols, or indeed almost anyone before Ed Sheeran, posh boy that he is. Suddenly all of our musicians are posh kids because no one else can afford to do it, and that's why his music is so dull. dull. Dull, yes, indeed. Oh, there I've said it. But, you look back to the history of these kind of things, and almost uniformly, it is at best ambivalent in the sense that there are some minuses, but on balance it wasn't bad. But lots of them are really good, and the classic one that I think of as being a sociology teacher is the educational maintenance allowance, which you may or may not remember from Tony Blair's day. And that's basically where they paid kids a set amount of money, it was 30 quid a week, to go to college. And they went to college, and lots of kids really benefited from that because at the same time actual FE was pump primed, not like these days whereby basically it's been stripped to the bone. No, I mean it was actually a positive experience and people got a lot out of it and it had a real economic benefit. And then Michael Gove came in and said it was really unfair because posh kids didn't get it, so he scrapped the lot. Yes, and kids stopped going to college, and he stopped funding colleges, and everything went down the pan. Yes, still, I wonder why people aren't highly skilled, because they can't afford to be. I wonder why they're work shy, because would you want to work in those types of jobs? You see, we can live in a very punitive society, or we can live in a less punitive society where actually people do tend to feel fairly empowered about their lives and are happier, and they almost always end up doing quite positive things. I will point you to The Clash or maybe the Sex Pistols. You don't have to like their music, but you can't underestimate the balance of payments that they brought in. Anyway, maybe, instead of subsidising lots of people in castles, we should subsidise people to live, well, comfortably near a castle and maybe have some free time when they can go and visit the castle, and then we can see what comes out of the mix, because it's usually something quite positive. And if nothing else, it's people that don't die with stymied lives in squalor, which is, just a bit distasteful, really. Anyway, do have a gorgeous Tuesday. If you can. Oh yeah.